Imagine this. You are flying your plane across the ocean only to report a strange object above you, and then you disappear. Hello and welcome back, or welcome to my channel. If you don't know what's going on here, I'm a horror artist and I like to draw what I talk about in the videos. Now, nothing is meant to be insensitive to the victims or the victims' families, but if you are a sensitive person, I probably recommend not watching anything that's on my channel, even though I don't think anything's offensive, but we do live in a bit of a snowflake world at the moment, so there's a lot of people out there that'll just whinge about anything. But with that being said, let's get on with the video. Today, I'm going to be talking about the strange and eerie disappearance of Fredrick Valentich. On the evening of the 21st of October 1978, a 20-year-old pilot called Fredrick Valentich took off from Melbourne's Moorabbin Airport to fly over to King Island, Tasmania, in a rented single-engine Cessna 182. At around 7 p.m, Valentich radioed to Melbourne's airport saying he had Cape Otway in his sights and the weather was clear with excellent visibility over the Bass Strait. Not long after that, Valentich reported that an aircraft was following him. At 7:15 p.m, Valentich reported, Melbourne, the strange craft is hovering on top of me again. It's hovering and it's not an aircraft. Valentich's radio recorded scratching and static before losing all contact with Melbourne's airport, the plane, and Valentich. He has never been seen again, or his plane. The light plane had the registration VH-DSJ, and while Valentich was in the sky, he communicated with controller Steve Roby. He reported that there was lights around him, unusual lights, and a green light as well. Now let's give you a brief history on Fredrick Valentich's flight history to throw that into the mix. Fredrick Valentich was a 20-year-old, as I mentioned before, that was a fairly experienced pilot, but only had 150 hours of flying under his belt and a Class 4 instrument rating, which means that he could fly at night if the weather was visually clear and there was no bad weather forecast. He also had been rejected twice by the RAAF due to the lack of education. He got his private pilot license in September 1977 and was studying for his commercial pilot license. He, however, failed all 5 exams, not once, but twice. He had also received a warning because in one flying incident, he flew into Sydney's restricted airspace and was found flying twice deliberately into clouds. He sounds like an accident waiting to happen. Valentich was obsessed with UFOs and apparently collected newspaper articles and other sources of stories about UFOs, and his father stated that Fredrick even expressed concerns if he ever encountered a UFO in the sky that it was going to attack him. The night he disappeared, he had not contacted King Island Airport to let them know that he was coming, and the reasons that he was flying there was either to pick up some friends or crayfish, but apparently neither were true. But Robert Schaefer, who I have talked about in previous videos, is a UFO skeptic and reckons Valentich was so obsessed with UFOs that he might have thought anything was a UFO up there in the sky that night. Valentich apparently saw some kind of landing gear above him. These lights appeared to be hovering, which he replied with, "It's not an aircraft," at about 4,500 feet. Air traffic even reported to him that there was no known traffic in the area. Theories speculated what he was seeing in the sky that night was Venus, Mars, Mercury, and Antares. These planets apparently were in the sky at that point in time and would have been seen as a diamond shape. Also, theories were thrown around that Valentich got disorientated and was flying the plane upside down and saw town lights. But this would have been pretty fucking obvious if you were flying a plane upside down due to gravity, and I don't care, even if you were disorientated, you're going to know that you're upside down, and he still wouldn't have been talking as calm as he was if he was flying upside down and seeing lights. Also, these particular planes couldn't fly upside down because as soon as you invert them, they apparently just fall out of the sky. Valentich also said that the aircraft he encountered was shiny, metallic and long and orbited around his plane and was moving at high speed. Also, just before losing contact, Valentich reported engine trouble. There were suggestions that Valentich got distracted and did a graveyard spiral into the water. But when you take everything off the table, it appears that we are dealing with an abduction. He was talking too calm, as I said before, in the recorded conversation, to be in a graveyard spiral or anything like that. If you want to hear the full conversation, I will have a link down in the description below if you want to listen to it and make up your own mind. Now, apparently 5 years after Valentich disappeared, wreckage was found washed up on Flinders Island of a cow flap from a Cessna in the Bass Strait with partial matching serial numbers, which means it was only in the vicinity of the numbers and not the exact ones. But allegedly on the night of Valentich seeing a UFO and disappearing, UFO reports were logged by people in the vicinity for days afterwards. But according to Flinders Island Airport, 2 of their planes that were the same as the Cessna that Valentich was flying had also lost these cow flaps during takeoff. So I would say that these cow flaps were part of those planes and were not part of Valentich's plane. But that didn't stop the lead investigators believing that Valentich had staged the whole thing. He went looking for UFOs, hence why he didn't inform King Island of his landing times or that he was even flying there, because he never had any intentions of going there, or maybe he just willed UFOs into sight and was abducted by the very thing that he was obsessed by. 5 days later, Steve Roby got another report from a pilot in another light aircraft saying that he was having an aircraft passing him 3 times at jet speed with really bright lights. Roby joked to the guy beside him in the control tower saying, "Here we go again." Valentich's girlfriend at the time, Rhonda Rushton, said he was supposed to meet her after his flight that night at around 7:30 p.m, which is kind of weird because at the times that he was flying, he would never have made it to King Island and back by that particular time. Now, this is where the story takes an interesting and mind-blowing turn. Just that next morning, after Valentich disappeared, a farmer working on his farm in South Australia was on his tractor when he saw a mass-type UFO come down from the sky and hovered over his property. The farmer was startled, but as the mass turned around, the farmer saw a plane-type craft stuck to the back of this mass. He could see the letters on the plane, so he took a tool and scratched the letters into the paint of his tractor, and it apparently ended up being VHDSJ. Then this mass just disappeared. Now, the farmer was near Adelaide, South Australia, and witnessed a 30-metre hovering craft over his property with the plane on its side leaking oil. He unfortunately never came forward until 36 years after the incident because he was ridiculed by his friends. According to lead investigator George Simpson, a lot of sightings were made of a UFO in the Adelaide area around the time the farmer saw the UFO over his property. He also stated that even though Valentich only had 150 hours of flying under his belt, he still should have been able to tell one of Earth's planes and crafts from something unusual. The farmer is still unknown to this day, but investigators want him to come forward if he is still alive. King Island is apparently no stranger to UFO sightings either. Aerial lights have been seen following cars on the roads, a cross-shaped craft has approached hunters, and cigar-shaped objects have been reported there as far back as 1896. UFO reports, and a lot at that, were made 3 months before Valentich disappeared. There is apparently a UFO that likes to appear in photographs of holidaymakers that visit Tasmania. My mother-in-law even caught the famous UFO in a picture she got developed at a photo shop back a few decades ago, and the guy that developed it told her about how this particular thing, this particular UFO, was a regular occurrence in people's photos. And also, my mother-in-law is from King Island. She was born there. Most years, Fredrick's brother, sister and mother still visit the memorial for him on Cape Otway. They then gaze out over the sea and wonder what exactly happened to him. I'm not too sure what happened to Valentich, but if I had to rein in on the subject, I'd say that he was taken, him and his plane. Nothing has ever really been found other than the so-called Cessna plane parts that washed up on Flinders Island, but that wasn't identified completely as Valentich's plane. Also, other pilots have flown over the Bass Strait and they reckon they have seen a plane-shaped object in the water, but when they fly back, there is nothing there. So, yeah, weird. And I don't think that a 20-year-old back in the 70s would fuck around and try to stage a disappearance when he wanted to become a commercial pilot. You know, I don't think that he would have done that. I think he would have just kept trying even though he failed everything. He would have just kept trying. And, you know, to be honest with you, there's too many variables that could have happened here. And I honestly don't think that this 45-year-old case is ever going to be solved. Now, what do you think happened to Fredrick Valentich? Do you think that he was abducted by UFOs or aliens and him and the plane? Do you believe the farmer that came forward that we still don't know who he is? What do you think? Do you think he just crashed into the ocean and they just still haven't found his plane? Let me know your thoughts in the description below. Now, for the illustration that I decided to do for this video today, I had my own vision of an alien, big caterpillar type creepy alien crawling along the ground with his body sort of elevated, with these wraps around him that are pushing the plane up above him because he's like playing with this thing, flying, like pretending to fly, you know, like kids have toys and they pretend. So like this alien is got this plane and he's like pushing it and, you know, flying it and, you know, playing with it. And yeah, it's leaking oil, and yeah, that's just the vision that I got for this particular story. So yeah, I had mass troubles trying to draw a plane. That was my biggest struggle, as you will see in the video. I don't really draw planes. It's something that, especially on an angle like this, so it's not something that I'm very, very, skilled in doing. But I gave it a good crack. So anyway, Inktober. For the next month, I'm going to be doing Inktober, so say goodbye to these watercolor pieces for a month, and I will be tackling that. So that's going to be fun, and I will also have a video in the next couple of days of just, you know, what I usually do is put into a video what supplies I'm going to be using and how I'm going to be doing the Inktober. So, and also what list I'm going to be using, which is usually the traditional one, is usually the Jake Parker one. But yeah, looking forward to that. And if you want to follow that, by all means, follow that for the next month. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe, dislike it, I couldn't care less. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.